Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. Today, we're going to be talking about tennis, obviously, but age. Coach Rob, when do you think peak performance of a tennis player is? What age?
I was thinking it was probably in the 26 to 28 range.
Okay.
Maybe 29.
We'll expand on
Sort
that.
of in that area.
While he's thinking, we'll expand on that. Stay tuned. All right, guys. So we're going to be talking about tennis peak here. I wanted to say some other peak, but I got to hold myself back because we're talking about tennis today. All right. So I got my man, Coach Rob, and Coach Rob, you were just mentioning that you thought 25 to 28 was like your peak performance of, let's say, a tennis player.
Right.
Right? Why do you say that?
So I sort of thought that by 25, 26, you really understand the game, you really know the game, and as you get into those years, you're still very athletic.
Mm-hmm.
And you still have your peak athleticism going in there.
Right.
And then after 30, usually you still really understand the game, but maybe you're now a step slower. That was back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, there's a few players that have blown that out of the water, but I know that was sort of kind of a rough...
what is that old saying? Wisdom over... Youth? Right? So I think in the last 12 to 15 years, maybe a little longer, that's kind of been the case because we have now a 35-year-old Djokovic at number one, right? We had a Fed that's heading in the 40 years old. We have a Rafa that's heading in the 40 years old. Andy Murray ain't that young.
Right.
And they're all like 35 and up.
Right.
And they're holding the torch for tennis, waiting for these kids to, take over.
Right.
I actually brought in some facts for all of us. Novak's number one. We know he's 35 years old. Now, what do you think the average age of the top 50 men's, the current top 50 men's, what is the average age?
Probably 25, 26.
Okay.
Factoring, you have some high, you got some of the young, like an Alcaraz, and then you have your middle of the road, mid-20 type guys. Okay.
So do you think that changes when you go straight into just the top 10 men?
Well, let's see. In the top 10, you're looking at, the high side with...
Well, Novak's going to skew a lot of things.
Right. And then Alcaraz goes the other way.
Right.
And so you have to look at whoever's in that,
in the middle
because the rankings change so often, but...
Right.
Or every week, whatever it is with the live ranking. But so, yeah, there's probably maybe very similar.
Right. So as of today, the time of this recording, in the top 50 men's, the average age is 26.26. So the average man, 26.26, is in the top 50. That's with Djokovic at 35 years old and Alcaraz at 19. So that means everybody kind of falls into that mid-20s realm. Now, looking at it a little closer and seeing the top 10, okay? In the top 10, we drop almost a whole year. In the top 10, 25.6 now. So we get younger in the top 10. And again, we have Nadal in the top 10. We have Djokovic in the top 10. They're both 35 and 36. So that means everybody else has got to be in their early 20s.
And you have Varun, who I think, according to your sheet, is number 10 in the world, and he's 19.
19. So that helps. Him and Alcaraz help skew it down into that 25.6 realm. Does that surprise you? No, that's right into what you were talking about.
That's kind of, yeah. It just depends on, how it fluctuates with who's making a move and who's dropping or who's not playing tournaments for whatever reason. But, yeah, it's sort of in that, you have knowledge of the game. You've played, tons of matches. You have plenty of experience, and you still have your youth and athleticism.
Right. I feel like, Francis Tiafoe is at number 15 here, and he's 25 years old. I feel like I've been following him for 25 years.
And Zverev's at 16, and he's 25.
Right. I can't believe I feel like they've been around forever. I feel like I've been stringing for Tiafoe since he was 10. But I guess it takes that long to move up into the ranks, right?
Right.
25 years old. Finally made it, right? All right, so let's take a look at the women's side here. Do you think it's going to be any different on the women's side?
I think it'll probably be close.
Okay.
Just depends on,
the dynamics of
the
who's
dynamics,
in right now.
right?
Yeah. So we got Iga at 21 years old.
Right.
Jess Pegula is 29. I was a little surprised at that one.
I was too.
Ons Jabeur is 28. I was surprised at that.
Yep.
Coco's only 18, guys. I feel like she was, 15 yesterday. So I guess 18 is right. And Caroline Garcia is 29. So what do you think the top 50 of the women's side is in terms of average age?
Right. Maybe a hair older.
Maybe a hair older?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, because I wasn't looking at, I didn't realize how old some of these, not that you're old, sorry, but old in tennis terms or in tennis years, some of these players were.
Okay, so the top 50 women currently today, average age 26.4. So if you're looking at it, the men's and the women's, they're about the same. 26.26, 26.4. Almost identical. Now, cutting it down to just the top 10 women currently, 24.9. So that's a whole half year younger than the men's.
Right.
So even with, we got Pegula, Jabeur, Garcia, all in 29, 28, and 29, we still skew lower because of golf, because of Iga. Sabalenka's 24 years old, guys. And then we got Sakkari, 27, Katsukina, 25. Bencic is only 25. I'm a little surprised by that. And then we round off the top 10 with Rybakina at 23. So got a nice mix of the top 10 women's here, averaging 24.9. So this tells us what, Coach Rob, on both the men and the women?
That age, that range is really where you want to be playing your best, being able to be moving your best, healthy enough, hopefully avoiding the injury bug, and you've got, plus or minus really good years
right,
still ahead of you in there.
Right.
So
I would say, I would agree with you that you should be playing your best tennis at 24 to 28.
Yeah.
After that, it's going to get a little more difficult, and Father Time is not on your side after that.
Father Time's undefeated.
And you and I were talking about something prior to that. In years past, we were looking at past champions of when they retired.
Right.
Now,
we were bringing it up just because we were looking back at with Fed and Djokovic and Nadal playing so much longer, we were like, hey, what age were some of the players we were watching as kids playing and growing up? How old were they when they were retired?
Right.
So we looked up some men and some women.
Right. So let's say Jimmy Connors, 43.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot he kept playing.
Right. I remember that U.S. Open where he was whooping the crowd up. And I think he beat Krickstein and had a great run there. And
he had a yellow racket, I believe.
Yeah.
Estusa, maybe.
Couldn't tell you. I just remember yellow.
And then Edberg, 30 years old, guys. 30 years old. Retired. Pete Sampras, 32. Andre, 35. Andy Roddick, 30. What fast fact did we have for Andy Roddick there?
Well, some of the guys he was playing against are still playing. Djokovic is still playing. Nadal is still playing. Those guys are, it feels like Roddick's been retired a really long time. Well, It's been 6 years.
He was that little bridge, and then everybody else kept going.
Yeah.
And he's still that bridge. Okay. And then on the women's side, Chris Everett at 34. Graf, I thought went longer than 30, but according to our test facts, 30. Martina went until 49, but she was playing mixed doubles at the end and still beating.
And still winning.
Serena, 40.
Yep.
Yeah. Venus still going.
Still playing.
42.
That's awesome.
Maria Sharapova, 32. Kerber, who just retired and got pregnant, 25. And Barty, who won the Australian Open and then retired and then got pregnant, is how old?
25.
Yeah, I was 25 when she retired. So, it seems like 30, little over 30 is kind of prime retirement age for if you want to retire at your peak. Or at time's peak.
Or just after, if you feel like, hey, this has been a grind. I've been doing it 15 years, some of these 20 years, and you've been out there slogging along, traveling, and going from hotel to airplane to court to hotel to, you just living that life. And,
Right. No, it's some people just don't want to hang it up. They enjoy the life that they have with the tennis community, like Venus, I'm sure, like Martina. Like Jimmy. Jimmy probably couldn't give it up. And then I think Andre wanted a second shot, So I get it. It's like some people don't want to leave school. I couldn't wait to get out of school. So.
Me too.
That's why we're here today with you.
Facts.
Right. Coach Rob, thank you for hanging out with me today and talking about age. Thank you, my friend.
You're welcome.
All right. Guys, thank you for watching Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. Coach Rob, it's a little cold.
I'm freezing, Harry. Keep moving your feet.
And it's dark. Ooh, I can't barely see.
Then you better not miss, Harry, because then you're going to get colder.
Here we go. Ooh. Oh, gosh. All right. Do you want that pro that will make you play in the dark, make you play in the freezing cold, not let you give up on your tennis? Well, I got my Coach Rob. You can get your Coach Rob at Play Your Court. You can find over 27,000 players out there, coaches and playing partners, all at playyourcourt.com.